Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, this will be attempt number 3 to make this video. I was having audio issues yesterday, and then now my stupid charger isn't wanting to work. It's telling me to buy a better charger for my computer. So, this will be attempt number 3 at making this video here. So, you see by the title, it says, "Who is Donald Trump?" So, for me personally, my opinion, I've never trusted him, and I really still don't trust him. I don't trust any man, and I don't put faith in any man to come and save me. I've been hearing a lot of other, especially free grace channels, really promoting Trump and telling their followers if they didn't vote for Trump, they're not Christian. And I've seen other channels basically saying he's here to save us, which that just blows my mind. No man can save us. I saw a video probably 20 years ago. It was Trump in his full Masonic outfit in a Masonic, basically at a meeting, and he was fully decked out in his Masonic outfit. And I'm also under the personal belief that Trump is in a secret order called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which I've been making a series on them too. We're going to tie it all in together, but they have a set of protocols. And one of their last protocols is basically to bring out the mark of the beast. So we're going to look into who Donald Trump is, and I'm going to try to tie it into how I believe he's in this order called the Golden Dawn. So let's get started. I'm going to start with this one. This one I found pretty crazy. It's from years ago, but this right here was at a rally or something 7 years ago, and Trump basically introduces Aleister Crowley's great granddaughter, and they got Secret Service guarding her, but it's 100% known that Aleister Crowley was in fact in the Order of the Golden Dawn. Like, that can be proven 100%. So I found it interesting. He was basically promoting his great granddaughter here.
Spiraling over YouTube banning ad blockers. Like, chill, guys. Just use Pi. It's a free Chrome extension that's actually made by
True love for our people.
And I don't think Trump's the Antichrist. That's not what I'm saying. I think he's probably maybe going to introduce the Antichrist here in the next few years. I think that's what his job might be, and to basically just destroy America. I don't believe who he says he is at all.
Requires us to find common ground, to advance the common good, and to cooperate on behalf of every American child who deserves a much brighter future. An incredible young woman is with us.
You see, he throws up the 666 pretty much every time the man talks
this evening, who should serve as an inspiration to us all. Today is rare.
And that's probably going to make a lot of people mad that see this, but I mean, it is what it is. I don't trust any man, especially this man. Didn't trust Obama, didn't trust Bush. I don't trust any of them. They're all working for Satan, in my opinion. And but that's just my personal belief. So I mean, take it with a grain of salt.
Disease Day, and joining us in the gallery is a rare disease survivor, Megan Crowley. Megan was diagnosed.
I've heard too, supposedly they say that Barbara Bush, George Bush's wife, is supposedly Aleister Crowley's daughter. But I've never seen anywhere where they can prove that 100%. She looks like him for sure. But it's just speculation too. They really don't have proof. I mean, there might be proof out there, but we don't have it. But she does look like the man.
Diagnosed with Pompe disease, a rare and serious illness, when she was 15 months old. She was not expected to live past 5. On receiving this news, Megan's dad, John, fought with everything he had to save the life of his precious child. He founded a company to look for
But she even looks like her great-great-grandpa to me, Alistair, in her face. She really looks like him.
Cure and helped develop the drug that saved Megan's life. Today, she is 20 years old and a sophomore at Notre Dame. Megan's story is about the unbounded power of a father's love for a daughter. But our slow and burdensome approval process at the Food and Drug Administration keeps too many advances, like the one that saved Megan's life, from reaching those in need. If we slash the restraints, not just at the FDA, but across our government, then we will be blessed with far more miracles, just like Megan.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me. So there's definitely some links to the Golden Dawn. Let me bring up this other one. Here's one that's titled "Why Donald Trump Really Loves Gold?" Because his whole penthouse in New York is solid 24 karat gold. He even has a painting of Apollyon the Destroyer on the ceiling, which is crazy. But he loves gold.
So, Joe, I've been watching Trump for a long time now, our friend Donald Trump, and he's always had this fascination with gold.
You see it everywhere with Trump, right?
There's always a lot of gold around Trump. I mean, think about it. He used to host a TV show called Gold Rush, inside.
I don't know if you guys pay attention to politics, but if you notice in the campaign trail, Trump was going around saying it's going to be a new dawn, it's going to be a golden age or a golden dawn. He was saying that almost everything he went to. I picked up on that. I was like, oh, wow.
A lot of his casinos are now all bankrupt and out of his hands. But gold was a common interior design element in a lot of the Trump casinos. It really popped up for me most recently during the Republican convention when he came up to speak.
The main
guy, Donald Trump. When he got up there on stage, he was surrounded by huge gold columns on either side of the Jumbotron. There were gold.
And those actually represent masonry too. It's the two pillars. It's masonry. They're two pillars too. So that ties into masonry also right there.
Gold steps leading up to the podium, and then his lectern itself was outlined in gold.
But I think it also says something very deep about his ideology. What I really think is gold is a symbol not of wealth per se, but about power.
But what's really the difference? Doesn't wealth convey power, and power can convey wealth?
I'm really rich.
Yeah, he's arrogant too. See, that's the thing is, especially once the economy collapses, whoever owns all the gold they control the world. Like back in the day when we were on the gold standard, it's impossible to go in debt on the gold standard. You can't go in debt. You can only spend the amount of gold you have. So, it's always been my belief that's why they brought in the cash money like that, so they could hoard up all the gold. So, it's crazy.
I'll show you that next time.
There are all kinds of ways to show wealth, but historically.
And they say supposedly Fort Knox, all that gold's been taken out of there. Whether that's true or not, who knows?
Gold is the type of thing that you really needed great power to acquire it. It's very labor intensive to get gold. You need to have incredibly complex global supply chains to get enough gold to turn it into a currency. And so I think that in addition to the fact that gold is associated with wealth, it's really this.
That's crazy. If you noticed on that map, a majority of the gold was in Africa.
Sort of conveyance of the idea that he has power.
If you go down through the ages,
there's got to be bigger deposits out there somewhere for sure. They probably, I don't know if they found them or they're just sitting on them or what. But I would imagine there's probably just as big deposits somewhere else in the world.
There's King Midas. There's the pharaohs of Egypt. And actually, Trump's apartment sort of looks like Louis XIV might have.
Yeah, see what I was saying? His whole apartment is in gold, like solid 24 karat gold.
Traded it on a bad acid trip.
It doesn't seem like it's an accident that he likes gold.
And if you remember, he those shoes he put out those gold shoes.
And of course, let's not forget about his hair.
I don't wear a toupee. It's my hair.
Every day, probably the closest gold item to Donald Trump is that massive halo of gold hair that hangs over his head like sort of a flying saucer.
He said like a flying saucer.
When data comes at you fast, come up with answers even faster. SAS Viya.
All right, now here we got one where, like I said, he was running around saying it's going to be a new dawn or a golden dawn. I actually found a video of him. Yeah, he said it's going to usher in the golden age. This is all just talk from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I don't know how far I want to go into that. Screw it. So MAGA is basically the highest level inside Satanism. So yeah, we'll get to that though down the line, but yeah.
To you, and yes, Donald Trump's victory in this campaign, as stunning as it was complete, knocking Joe Biden out of the race over the summer, then overnight defeating Kamala Harris by winning at least 2 out of the 3 so-called Democratic blue wall states. Now the
What's up, Stefan? So Stefan said South Africa has 50% of the world's gold deposits, yet their currency is almost worthless. Exactly. That's what happens when they took especially like America off the gold standard. It's impossible to go in debt on the gold standard. You can only spend how much gold you have. So I think that's why they did that, so they could hoard up all the gold. So when the economy crashes, basically they run the world because they own the gold. I've heard as far as Fort Knox being looted and the gold all be taken out of there, and I've heard all kinds of stuff over the years.
first president to be reelected to non-consecutive terms.
Yeah, this video you see, he says it's like going to be a golden dawn or something in here.
In more than 100 years, is coming back to Washington with what he calls a powerful mandate from the American people.
Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Overnight, a stunning victory for Donald Trump, with NBC News projecting the 45th president is now set to serve again as the nation's 47th.
This will truly be the golden age of America.
The former president flipping back.
Yeah, the golden age of America. So for people who've studied and know about the Golden Dawn and that, he's basically saying that it's about to be the time for the Antichrist to step forward in their time. That's the Golden Dawn's whole mission, is to bring about the mark of the beast and the Antichrist. And that's what he's saying when he's saying it's about to be a new dawn or a golden dawn or a golden age.
Critical battlegrounds he lost in 2020, celebrating his victory with supporters in the early morning hours.
This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country.
Trump trading in his often fiery rhetoric, instead calling for unity.
It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite, and we're going to try.
Also, too, has anybody noticed he's been talking about like the deep state and all that and the cabal, and I've been picking up on that. That's kind of weird. He's talking about that lately, and then we're seeing a lot of talk about him going after the cartels and all that. I just think, what's the word I'm looking for? I think that's all going to be used basically as pretense to basically set up martial law. And I think the Noahide laws are going to be what they use to come after us Christians with. I think they're going to go under the pretenses of, oh, we're going after the cartels, and I'm going and taking the cabal out and the deep state out. And then people are going to be okay with seeing martial law and not being able to move around. They're going to be like, okay, it's for a good reason. He's taking out all the bad guys. And I don't think that's really what's going to happen. But I could be way off on that. But I think that's maybe something that might play out.
Though notably not mentioning President Biden or Vice President Harris or their supporters in.
Oh, this will probably get my video nuked. Oh, man. So, I don't know if I should say this or not. Okay, so when you have a free chance, go into Google and just type up the secret winter, what's the word? Secret winter drill or something like that. I can't get too far into it. It would get my channel nuked if I get too far into that. But look up the secret winter drill, and yeah, you'll see what I'm saying.
His remarks, instead focusing on his next term with a Republican-controlled Senate.
America has.
It kind of, if you know video games, it kind of ties into the story of The Division. How basically diseases will be unleashed upon the people by a specific country, and yeah, it gets deep.
Given us an unprecedented.
But it's basically the story of The Division. Yeah, I probably already got this video probably deleted and got me a strike right there, but who cares?
And powerful mandate.
On stage with his family, Trump also touting several high-profile allies, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who he said will have a role in his next administration, and spending several minutes praising billionaire Elon Musk, who spent tens of millions of dollars supporting Trump's campaign.
We have a new star.
You know what? Who cares? Basically, it's basically a script where Russia would unleash like monkeypox and like bird flu and influenza basically upon all the people in America. That's basically what it is. Who cares? I don't even care anymore.
A star is born, Elon.
Running mate J.D. Vance also taking the stage.
We just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
The former president winning with a coalition driven by white voters, men, and first-time voters, a group he lost in 2020 but won this year.
They came from all corners, union, non-union, African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, Arab American, Muslim American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful.
During the campaign, Trump had focused heavily on immigration, painting the immigration debate in dark.
What do you guys think? You think he's really going to go after the cartels like we're hearing? I mean, it's possible for sure. I mean, military-wise, it's possible. I think our Delta Force and like our SEALs and stuff could take them out no problem. I saw this guy, his name's Tim Kennedy. He's an he was either Army Ranger or Delta Force, and then he became a UFC fighter. But he put out a message the other day to the cartels, and he basically told them, if Delta Force is coming for you, you guys better run now. He's like, you guys stand zero chance. He's like, you better take your money and run now. I was laughing so hard. But what's your guys' opinions on that? You think he's really going to go after the cartels like that? That'd be pretty crazy.
Dark terms.
Black voters are furious.
My personal opinion, I don't think they will. If you know about Iran-Contra and Oliver North and stuff and that whole story, it's not in their interest to go after the cartels, and I'm going to leave it at that. Look into Iran-Contra and Oliver North.
Furious with Kamala over illegal immigration.
Screw it. I've already said enough to get this nuked. So basically, Iran-Contra, it's been proven. The CIA was helping the Nicaraguan guerrillas smuggle cocaine into America to Freeway Ricky Ross down in L.A. And then they threw him in prison for like 20 years after they were the ones supplying them. It's insane. It's a whole story, guys. Look up Freeway Ricky Ross and look up Iran-Contra. It's insane. It was during the Reagan time. They were literally helping smuggle cocaine into America to fund the guerrilla war. It's insane. Well, this will probably be my first strike, guys.
It's destroying their communities.
His support with Black and Latino voters higher in key swing states. Latino men in particular flocking to Trump, favoring him by a 10-point margin after backing Joe Biden by 23 points 4 years ago.
All
The
right, this
economy
one's
also a major
boring.
focus,
I
tying
just
Harris
wanted
to
to
incumbent
show how he was talking about the golden age. All right. I was playing this one yesterday. It was really interesting. It's his family tree. Because I was always interested, where did their family money come from, like the beginning? And it looks like it came from alcohol and prostitution. And then all the money was thrown into real estate. It's pretty interesting. I mean, not too dissimilar to the Kennedys. That's how they got their start. Their whole family was bootleggers and tied into the mafia, and so it's not surprising at all.
In New York court on Thursday.
Here we go.
We have done his family.
All I know is his
Today
dad
I'm
was
going
like
to
Fred Trump, and his mom was like Mary Trump or something.
show you the family tree of Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States. We have done his family previously, but since he's running for president again and is in the news a lot, I thought it would be a good opportunity to update and expand.
All right, I got a comment. Let me read it. Yeah, Stefan, you were my first, pretty much my first viewer all my lives. You're pretty much the main one who's always here. So Stefan says, according to Veith, yeah, I was watching a few videos of him yesterday. I'm going to cover that at some point. But he says, according to Veith, all these world leaders are Masons and or Knights of Columbus. They're all working together, correct? Or they're Shriners, which is another level of Masonry. Unfortunately, when I was 14 or 15, I joined the Knights of Columbus. Knights of Columbus isn't that bad. They meet up on Tuesdays and give out food. Maybe at the top, it gets crazier at the very, very top. But pretty much the only thing I saw in Knights of Columbus, it was boring. I would go to meetings with like 70, 80-year-old dudes, and we would eat and just talk. But at the highest levels, I could see some crazy stuff probably at the Knights. And then the Shriners are definitely crazy. Before I left, they were trying to recruit me into the Jesuit order, and a Monsignor there that was a family friend for years, he basically pulled me to the side and warned me. He was like, don't do it. Just like he warned me about Masonry early on. He didn't say not to go into Masonry, but he said never go above like the 7th or 8th level. And I was just like, I'm good on Masonry. I'm cool on that crap. But he had told me never go above like the 7th or 8th level or something. And I always wondered why. It must start getting crazy after that level. So that's what I would imagine. But yeah, definitely they're all the leaders are Masons. Every secret society out there basically is under Masonry. And then not all Masons know the crazy stuff going on either. It's really compartmentalized. There's basically a Masonry inside Masonry, where all the dudes at the top that get to the 32nd and 33rd degree, and then the rumor is when they get to the 32nd degree, they learn the god of Masonry is Lucifer. So, but I don't know. I've never even been into a Masonry hall or none of that crap. My grandma also warned me about that. She came from a pretty rich family, and my grandpa, he came from a poor farming family in Paris, California. And her dad was he was either a lieutenant or general in the Navy. I met him 2 times in my life. They lived down in LA, but he was a master Mason, and they forced her into Eastern Stars when she was a teenager. It's basically like the female version of Masonry. And she always warned me. She wouldn't really get into it, but she always warned me that it was just pretty much evil. And she basically ended up running away with my grandpa when they were 16 and 17, and she basically never looked back. And then she didn't really talk to her dad again until she was in her 50s. And I met him like 2 times I met him when I was a kid, and then I met him right before he passed away, basically. But I don't know if I should say it. Basically, I found all of his masonry books, and it I got quite a bit of info out of those. That's all I'm gonna say. And then my grandma eventually turned them into the library, because I guess when a mason dies, you're supposed to drop the books into the library book drop thing. And she didn't want me and my grandpa reading all of them, so her and my mom snuck off one day and went and dropped them all off to the library. We were kind of mad, like, dang, we wanted to finish reading them, because we wanted to see like all the stuff in there, see if all the stuff we'd heard over the years was true. But it was a lot of like it was a lot of like codes and stuff. You had to know how to like break the codes. But right before they took him back, we found the actual book on how to decode them, and we were like, dope, we're about to figure out everything in here. And they took him back. We were so mad. We were mad about that for like a year. But yeah, I got off on a little tangent there. But all right, here we go.
And his chart. Let's start with the surname Trump, which is related to the words trumpet and drum. These words, in turn, go back to the word Trump.
Yeah, my bad. For anyone thinking about ever joining Masonry, I would say don't do it. It's highly satanic. Never get into that. It's straight up satanic. They worship Lucifer. Not all of them, not the low levels. They don't know what's going on above. But I wouldn't have nothing to do with it, guys. That's just my recommendation.
Triumph, which in Roman times referred to a special type of victory parade.
And pretty much 90% of judges in America are all Masons, and cops and firemen. They're all Masons, and they basically have a little badge they get, and if they ever get pulled over on like minor stuff, they literally just flash their badge to the cop, and the cop's like, peace out, see you later. Because it's in Masonry laws that they have to help another brother that's in distress or in trouble. And one of their distress signs is they'll throw both hands above their head, basically. And then the other one, they'll say something like, is there no rest for the widow's son? If you ever hear that, that means it's a Mason and he's in trouble and he's trying to let all the other Masons around him know. Or if you see someone raise their hands up above their head, that means they're in distress and they're asking another Mason for help.
For many years, Donald Trump claimed that his paternal ancestors came from Sweden. In fact, this is what he stated in his 1987 book, The Art of the Deal. However, we now know that his paternal ancestors actually came from Germany, from a small town in Bavaria called Karlstadt.
See, what's up with that? Have you guys ever noticed that all these elite families have basically German background, but they hide it for some reason? Like half the royal family in England, it comes from Germany, but they hide it. I've always wondered why. Why do they hide that fact? Is it because they're embarrassed for what Germany did for World War I and World War II, and then Hitler and the Nazis? That's the only thing I could think of. But I've always noticed they all hide their German ancestry. That's just always been kind of interesting to me.
It was there that his great-great-grandfather, Johann Paul Trump, lived. Interestingly, Johann Paul Trump is also an ancestor of the Heinz family, known for their famous ketchup. You see, Johann Paul's daughter Charlotte married a Heinz, and her son John immigrated to the US, where his son Henry went on to found the Heinz Ketchup Company. But we're more concerned with Johann Paul's son, Johannes, who had a son named Christian.
Yeah, and I think now they also own the Pittsburgh Steelers, don't they? Because I know the field is called Heinz Field. I could be wrong on that, but I think they own the Steelers.
Who married Katharina Kober. They were the parents of Friedrich, who at the young age of 16 moved to the United States in order to escape military service in Germany. He initially worked in New York as a barber, but then in 1891 moved to Seattle, which at the time was still a frontier town. There he bought and ran a bar, which also operated as a brothel. Several years later, during the Klondike Gold Rush, he moved up to the Yukon, where he continued to sell liquor and access to prostitutes, becoming rich in the process. Then in 1901,
Yeah, like I was saying, that's quite common. A lot of the elite families got their start in alcohol and prostitution. The Kennedys were the same way. That's how their family became rich. There's a lot of other top families out there too, the same way. A lot of them became rich during Prohibition and all that.
ended up back in his hometown in Germany, which is where he met Elizabeth Christ. They married the next year and initially moved to New York, but then back to Bavaria, where they decided to settle. However, when the Bavarian government found out that Friedrich had been a draft dodger,
1 second, guys. Sorry for all the pauses, but I like to read all my comments too. All right, so Stefan, I heard somewhere that at the start of the First World War, Russian Tsar, German Chancellor, and British Prime Minister were grandsons of the British Queen. Yeah, I've heard that before. I'm trying to think of the last Warburg, right? Their last names were Warburg, which is a German name. And then also her husband, who was also her cousin, he's also from German ancestry, but they hid that forever too. So yeah, that's pretty high chance you're right on that right there. Obviously, we have no evidence to prove it, but that's been around forever, and there's actual ties to what you're saying for sure. Because if you look up the Warburg, her real name was Warburg, so that's a German name. I think it's Warburg. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Warburg.
banished him from the country. So the couple had to settle in New York after all, which is where their 3 children were born. In New York, Friedrich invested his ill-gotten gains from out west into real estate. But then in 1918, at the age of 49, he mysteriously dropped dead. His family would later learn that he was one of the first cases of the Spanish flu, which went on to become the deadliest pandemic in
That's
history.
pretty crazy.
During the 1920s, Elizabeth continued to run the family business under the name E. Trump, and then later E. Trump and Son, that son being her eldest, Fred Trump. Her other son, John Trump, instead went on to become a scientist at MIT. I'll come back to John
that's his
Trump a
uncle.
little later. For now, I want to point out Betty Trump, Fred and John's older sister. She married a William Walter and had a son named John Walter, who became the mayor of a small village on Long Island. Fred, however, is the one that we're most interested in, being that he was the father of Donald Trump. Once he turned 21, he basically took over the family business, eventually marrying Mary Ann McLeod, whose family I'll talk about a bit later. But like both his father and his son, Fred Trump is a controversial figure, known for his questionable business practices. But before I get into it, let me say
I'm assuming McLeod is either Irish or Scottish. Probably Scottish. I think it is actually Scottish. Because, yeah, I think so. Because I remember hearing back in the days they had ties to the Scottish Freemasons over there.
up front, talking about the Trump family is difficult. Former President Donald Trump is by far one of the most controversial figures of our time. Just last week, he was found guilty in a New York court on 34 felony charges. Reactions in the wake of this continue to be nothing short of polarizing. This is why I asked Ground News specifically to sponsor this video. Their platform combines all the world's news in one place so that you can compare coverage from across.
See, me personally, I think that's all just a stage, a big Hollywood production, even politics. I think it's all the same. I've heard as far as like the CIA sending actual movie scripts to Hollywood and stuff before, so I think it's all, the whole world's just a big stage. That's my opinion.
The political spectrum and verify felony conviction. So it's obvious that depending on where you get your information from, you can end up having a totally different perspective. This is why Ground News is one of my most used apps. Look, you know that I love charts. Well, this app shows me charts like this one and additional data on each news source, like where their funding comes from, which can heavily influence the way a story is spun. It even highlights what isn't being widely covered. Thus, it can help you have more productive conversations with family and friends on contentious topics, like the Trumps. So, with a major election approach,
See, that's another thing with me that makes me look at him kind of different, is who he's surrounding himself with this go around, like Elon Musk. if you notice, Elon Musk has been by his side for the last few months. And with Elon Musk making Neuralink, I don't know, that's just a crazy connection to me. He's the one that's making Neuralink. I don't know if Neuralink is the mark of the beast. I don't know. It probably not, but it might be the technology that's like laying the ground for it or something. But I just found that an interesting connection. He has him around all of a sudden.
Approaching.
And remember last Halloween, Musk wore that whole outfit with a Baphomet with the upside down cross. I don't know if you guys saw that picture from last Halloween. That was crazy.
Ground News is a tool that we all need. You can check it out now by going to Ground News. Very unpopular in those days. It was also during the war that Fred Trump started to make really big money by using federal subsidies to build housing for naval shipyard workers, and then later for returning veterans. But pretty soon it became clear to the US government that Trump was making too much money and was making it too quickly. The feds investigated him twice and found out that basically what he would do is overestimate the cost of a project, get federal money for it, and then use the profit for other investments. Technically, this wasn't illegal, so he was never charged.
So basically, like the same type of stuff Jared Kushner's dad was doing. I don't know if you saw, he just appointed Jared Kushner's dad as some type of like foreign ambassador or something. I found that interesting because he has a felony and he was in prison. So I found that like really interesting when I saw that a few days ago.
Charged. However, he was later sued for racial discrimination for supposedly going out of his way to avoid renting to blacks and other minorities. The folk singer Woody Guthrie even wrote a song about Fred called Old Man Trump. Anyhow, the case was eventually settled, with Trump's company agreeing to better follow the Fair Housing Act.
Who did he say made a song?
Okay, was eventually settled, with Trump's company agreeing to better follow the Fair Housing Act. Okay, let me now tell you about Donald Trump's mother and the wrote a song about Fred called Old Man
Woody
Trump.
Guthrie.
Anyhow, the case was of Hebrides, which are a group of islands that are a part of
Yeah,
Scotland.
that's my notes.
The
We'll
earliest
take
Trump
a look at that
ancestor
song
that
on the
we
next
have
video.
a photo of is his great-grandfather, Alexander MacLeod, son of a William MacLeod. He and his wife Annie were the parents of Malcolm MacLeod, who married Mary Ann Smith. As you can see from the photos, they were simple folk who worked as tenant farmers in order to eke out a living. They had 10 children, the youngest of whom was Mary Ann. Mary Ann, Donald Trump's mother, was born in...
Oh, yeah, it's a 3-minute song about him. Huh. Maybe we'll squeeze it in on this one. I'm my battery's starting to run low. I had to order a new stupid charging cable. It's saying this charging cable isn't graded for this laptop, so it's like barely charging it. Even when it's like plugged in, it still dies. But I ordered one. It should be here tomorrow. I'm hoping I can get through this video and maybe that song before it dies. But if not, if it dies, we'll pick up tomorrow.
Scotland and spoke Gaelic as her first language.
Yeah,
but
Gaelic.
at age 18,
But it is Scottish if they speak Gaelic for sure.
she immigrated to the US, where a few years later, she met and married Fred Trump. Together, they had 5 children. The eldest, Mary Ann, worked as a lawyer and then eventually became a judge. In fact, she was appointed by Bill Clinton to the US Court of Appeals, which is just one step down from the Supreme Court. Donald's older brother, Fred Jr., was a...
Oh, that's interesting. They always did say the Clintons and Trumps had a long connection. They just never really got into it.
originally slated to take over the Trump business empire, but he opted to become a pilot instead. He unfortunately also became an alcoholic, and this contributed to his early death at age 42. He did, however, have 2 children, Fred Trump III and Mary Trump. Because Fred Jr. died before Fred Sr., these 2 children expected to receive their father's portion of the family wealth. How?
Yeah, didn't he die as like a kid, like some type of accident? I could be off there, but I think that's what I remember hearing. He died as a kid in like an accident or something.
However, they did not, which led to a lawsuit, at which point Donald Trump refused to help pay the medical bills for Fred III's son William, who was born with cerebral palsy. The suit was eventually settled, but the bad blood continued. To this day, Mary is one of Donald Trump's most vocal critics, having helped the New York Times with this article and having published the book, Too Much.
Trump engaged in suspect tax schemes as he reaped riches from his father. Oh, so they're talking about Junior, not the father here. What was her name? I'll see if I could find that New York Times.
And Never Enough. How my family created published the book, Too Much. Most vocal critics, having helped the New York Times, was eventually settled, but the bad blood continued. To this day, Mary is one of Donald Trump's most vocal critics, having helped the New York Times with this article and having published the book, Too Much and Never Enough. How my family created the world's most dangerous man. Mary also happens to be the only openly gay close relative of Donald Trump. She and her ex-wife have one daughter together. Next up is Elizabeth Trump, Donald's only sibling that is currently still living. She generally stays out of the spotlight, but we do know that she's married to a...
All right, I'm gonna look for that article, see what all she said about him in there. I should be able to find it if it's New York Times. It should be on there somewhere.
James Grau, and that the couple has no children. Finally, there's Donald's younger brother, Robert, who passed away in 2020. Prior to this, he mostly worked for the family business. He married twice and had a stepson, but no children of his own. Which brings us to Donald Trump himself, the fourth child of Fred Sr., and the person who led the family business from 1971 to...
All right, Stefan said, aren't all these lawsuits based on personal grievances instead of anything worthwhile? Pretty much. I mean, that's what it seemed like. Like I said, to me, it just seemed like a big distraction to distract people. I think it's all just a giant Hollywood production myself, politics, all that. But yeah, it was basically like baseless lawsuits. That's why they're all being dropped. I think they were just I don't know what they were trying to do with those. If it wasn't a distraction, I guess they were trying to sway people from voting for them or something. But yeah, pretty much, Stefan.
To 2017, changing its name to the Trump Organization. From 2017 to 2021, he then, of course, served as the President of the United States. Trump has been married 3 times, his first wife being the late Ivana Zelničková, a former model from the Czech Republic.
Yeah, that's what I think. Stefan.
Together, they had 3 children, Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. While still married to Ivana, Trump had an affair with a young beauty contestant named Marla Maples. Eventually, he divorced Ivana and married Marla, with whom he had his 4th child, Tiffany. That marriage lasted just 3 years, after which he started dating the Slovenian model Melania Knaz, who is 24 years his junior. They married in 2005 and have one son.
Yeah, that's crazy how tall their son is, too. What was he? He's like 6'9" or 7 feet or something. He just sprung out of nowhere.
Named Barron. When Trump became president, Melania
Who knows? Maybe they got those fallen angel Nephilim genes inside them.
became first lady and is one of only 2 first ladies to have been born outside the United States. Let me now tell you about Trump's children. Currently, Don Jr. and Eric share the leadership of the Trump Organization. For 13 years, Don Jr. was married to model Vanessa Hayden, who prior to 9/11 had been dating a Saudi prince. Together, Don Jr. and Vanessa have 5 children, ranging in age from 17 to 10. Take note that his oldest son is named Donald and is...
So that would make a little bit of sense why Trump has such a good relationship with Saudi Arabian over there. She was dating a Saudi prince. I wonder what prince. I don't think it was MBS, but I think there's probably, I don't know how many princes does Saudi Arabia have? I would guess there's quite a bit, probably maybe 50 to 100. I could be way off though, but I would imagine Saudi Arabia probably has quite a few princes. We'll have to look that up too, see who she was dating.
Hence, Donald Trump III. Currently, Don Jr. is engaged to former Fox News host Kimberly Guilfoyle, who has been married twice before, her first husband being Gavin Newsom, who is nowadays the governor of
Oh,
California.
God.
Take note that Kimberly is currently 55, which is
Gavin Newsom is so horrible. I live in California, guys. Oh my God. I cannot stand Gavin Newsom. He's Pelosi's nephew. He has literally destroyed California. When I'm telling you, he has destroyed California. San Francisco looks like a third world country, like a war zone. It's insane. Even on like the main strip there that has like Saks Fifth Avenue stores, they're all boarded up. There's literally human feces everywhere you look, needles, drugs. It looks like it's not even inside America. He has destroyed California.
1 year older than
And they
her
were talking about he was going to run for president. I was like, please, no.
future mother-in-law, Melania Trump. One thing you may not know about Ivanka is that her legal name is actually Ivana, just like her mother. You see, in Slavic languages, Ivanka means something like little Ivana. Anyhow, she's married to Jared Kushner. During Trump's presidency, Jared served as senior advisor to the president, and Ivanka as...
Yeah, I remember a lot of people were thinking Kushner might be the Antichrist because he's a Jew when he first popped up. And then he was he was helping work on the Abrahamic Accords. But from everything I've heard, the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was basically the one leading the Abrahamic Accords. That's why I always thought he might be a good candidate for Antichrist. This is my personal opinion. I feel the Antichrist will probably be Muslim because I think Islam's going to play a major role in the end times.
advisor. This was seen as a conflict of interest, not only because they were close relatives of the president, but
Yeah,
also
goes
because they
MPS right
both
there
had
with
businesses that benefited from their roles. Jared Kushner is the son of real estate developer Charles Kushner, who served time in prison.
Yeah, see, Charles Kushner, he just got appointed by Trump for some type of like foreign ambassador position or something, which I thought was crazy because he went to prison for a felony for fraud.
For tax evasion and
Tax evasion, yeah.
witness tampering. He
Yeah,
in
for
turn
witness tampering, that's what it was.
is the son of Holocaust survivor Ray Kushner. When she immigrated to the U.S.,
But yeah, Trump just appointed him to some ambassador or something overseas. I saw that and I was like, wow.
her husband took her last name, pretending to be her brother. If that hadn't have happened, Ivanka's surname would now be Berkowitz, not Kushner. Because she married into a Jewish family, Ivanka converted to Judaism as well, so that her children would be born Jewish. Currently, they have 3 children, Arabella, Joseph, and Theo. Eric is married to former TV producer Laura Yunaska, who is now the co-chair.
All right, this is going to be close. I got a couple percentage left on my battery. I'm going to try to finish it up.
Of the Republican National Committee. They have 2 children, aged 7 and 5. Take note that all of the photos
That's
that
pretty
I've
much that
lab
video.
and papers
Oh, okay.
was none of.
So I just wanted to use this first video as a kind of little intro to see who Trump was, and then kind of, like I said, my personal beliefs. I feel he's in a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which is those first couple videos I was showing. And then I'm going to tie it into my Hermetic Dawn series and my other series. Like I said, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, their protocols are pretty crazy. The last protocol is to actually bring in the mark of the beast. So I don't trust this man, never have. I think his job is going to be to probably bring in the Antichrist and cause all kinds of chaos and possibly crash the market inside the country. So I think this was a nice little intro. Stefan, I got your probably tomorrow I'm gonna try to get to the Protestant Reformation video. And then is there any other type of content you like to see on here? Any other topics or anything? I'm gonna do another part to this Trump series and to my Golden Dawn series, and my Noahide Law series. I think, like I was saying, I think the Noahide laws are going to be what they use to actually come after us Christians. So I'm going to try to tie it all in together, all these series into one at the end. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm going to squeeze in the Protestant Reformation video for you. And yeah, if there's any more Reformation church history, okay, gotcha. Yeah, we kind of started it last video. I'm going to do a super deep dive. Yeah, we'll get it done tomorrow. I'm going to get my new cord tomorrow where I can actually charge my computer. And then, yeah, tonight I'm going to do a bunch of research and stuff, and we'll do a Reformation church history video tomorrow. Sounds good. And whoever the other viewer is, thanks for watching. I got to end it here because my computer's literally flashing. But all right, guys, God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, guys.